Deuce Hogan is a Kentucky Wildcat. More on that in a moment. Before we get to our video for today, if you have not already done so, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well for this video, but please subscribe to our channel from the Hawkeye of the Storm here on YouTube. Great content on the way, and of course we do Iowa basketball post-game shows after every basketball game, including tonight's game against Wisconsin. So, former Iowa quarterback Deuce Hogan, once the beloved son of Hawkeye Nation, the kid from Grapevine, Texas, who everybody was high on, a bit of a mobile quarterback. I don't know that I'd call him dual threat, but I would certainly say he's more dual threat than what Iowa typically puts out there behind center. He is now headed to Kentucky, according to Kentucky Sports Radio. I have not heard this from Deuce Hogan personally. I don't believe he has announced anything via social media yet. But again, according to Kentucky Sports Radio, who I believe was first on the report here, Deuce is not only leaving Iowa for Kentucky, he's actually going to walk on at Kentucky. So that's sort of interesting. It's an interesting decision from Deuce because, again, I know there's lots of quarterbacks in the portal. I know Deuce never played here. That's not an indictment on Deuce Hogan, okay? We also know the backstory as to why he left. I mean, you may make the claim that it was solely because of playing time, but the comments by Kirk Ferentz after the Nebraska game, I think, were certainly the nails in the coffin, so to speak. So if you don't know the backstory, maybe you're a Kentucky fan logging on here. I did wear blue for you today. Ferentz was asked after the Nebraska game about Hogan's status. Because if you're an Iowa fan, you remember Iowa's top two quarterbacks, Alex Padilla and Spencer Petras, were under the weather that week because of the flu leading into the Nebraska game. So we heard reports, rumors that Deuce Hogan had been playing with the ones a lot. So Kirk Ferentz was asked about the possibility if Hogan would have had to have played, if he had come to Lincoln and played, how would Kirk have felt about it? Basically, again, was the gist of the question to Kirk. And Kirk responded, with this. He said, and I quote, "If it was Deuce, with all due respect to Deuce, I might have stayed in Iowa City." That was a terribly, I know it was a joke. I know it was meant to be a joke, but not a very, obviously not a very respectful thing to say, not a very kind thing to say, completely inappropriate. And I give Kirk Ferentz credit. He owned up to it, right? He apologized. I know he apologized to Deuce, but I think a situation like this, where you're Deuce Hogan, you come here, I'm sure he's working his tail off. I have no reason to think Deuce Hogan is not a hard worker. He's working his tail off. He looks like he might finally, the last game of the season, by the way, he was in year 2, last game of the season, he may have an opportunity to start and play. He doesn't. Your head coach, who's supposed to have your back, makes a comment like that, and that would just be shattering to a kid's confidence. So I was disappointed in Kirk after the comment was made. Again, I give him credit for apologizing. That's all he can do. We're all human. We make mistakes. But that is the backstory on Deuce Hogan leaving. It wasn't long after, days after that comment from Kirk, that Deuce entered the portal. And Deuce's mom, if you didn't catch this, did write a letter to her son and posted it on Facebook. So sort of a public deal as well. And I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I will read an excerpt of it. And this is exactly what Kentucky Sports Radio referred to as well. She said, and I quote, "Deuce did not leave Iowa because of playing time. The head coach slandered him in a press conference. Very out of character for the coach. He was trying to be funny. Unfortunately, there was no backtracking on his mistake. He has since apologized to Deuce, the team, and the media, but Deuce cannot play for him, and everyone in the facility understands why." Listen, I'm not trying to imply that Deuce Hogan was the future at quarterback for Iowa. I've said it very matter-of-factly in the past few weeks that I'm very disappointed that we never really got to see Deuce on the field. Now, you can say, well, he got in there. I've heard people say that. He was in there at times. I'm not talking about getting on the field and handing the ball off to LaShawn Williams. I'm talking about actually giving him the playbook to work with. Now, maybe he wasn't ready. But as of right now, I've not been inspired with a whole lot of confidence in Iowa's ability to evaluate quarterbacks. Not saying he was the best quarterback on the roster. Not saying that. But it's disappointing we never at least got to see what Deuce Hogan could do on the field. I wish Deuce all the best moving forward at Kentucky. It's interesting that he's deciding to go this route as opposed to maybe go down to the group of 5 or even FCS level and see it. Because, again, guys transfer more than once nowadays. I mean, it just happens. Kid from West Virginia is a perfect example. Started at Bowling Green, went to West Virginia. Now he's a transfer portal quarterback as a grad transfer. So it can work, but he decides to go to Kentucky, and I'm sure maybe the connection, Mark Stoops, the Iowa connection there, perhaps lent itself to be a possibility for Deuce Hogan. And again, perhaps he earns a scholarship there at Kentucky. And if there's one comparison I'd make, it might be Will Levis. And I don't know. Again, I haven't seen Deuce Hogan play at this level yet. You watch his high school tape, played a little bit like Will Levis. So if you're a Kentucky fan, I think this is a great get. I mean, he's not taking up a scholarship. He's coming down here with an opportunity to work and help that competition at the quarterback position. So a win-win for Kentucky, and I think it's a loss for Iowa, regardless of how you feel about Deuce Hogan. So again, credit to Kentucky Sports Radio for announcing this, getting the report out there first. We have not heard anything officially from Deuce Hogan, but again, that is a report from KSR, Kentucky Sports Radio, that Deuce Hogan is headed to Kentucky. Appreciate you listening this afternoon. Again, hit the subscribe, hit the like button as well. We'll be here after the Iowa-Wisconsin game this evening with Coach Gary Close breaking it all down during Iowa postgame from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Appreciate you listening. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you very, very soon.